Okay, there we go. Much better. We got stuff in some semblance of an order. What is going on, everybody? It is the one, the only Q here from Retro Q Gaming. Now we are going to sit back, we are going to relax, and we are going to see what the deal is with AMD's new announcement. Yes, I'm purposely sitting here in the dark because, well, we don't want to distract from what's going to come up on screen and what's going to take our big focus here now in 5 minutes when this starts. So we do have a couple of minutes before we get going. Let's muse and wonder and think a little bit about what we got. So today's one is GPU showcase. So GPU showcase, we've already had the Ryzen stuff, the new 5000 series earlier in the month. We're looking at Navi. We're looking at RDA 2. We're looking at Navi. Big Navi. Navi 2, whatever you want to call it. And where does this fit in? Well, we have a couple of options. There's rumored to be up to 3 types of cards revealed today. My guess, based on what we've seen leaked and what we've seen this, that, and the other in the past and all, I'm thinking we're going to have an 8 gigabyte 6800 RX 6800. I think we're going to have a 16 gigabyte RX 6800 XT and possibly even a 6900. Now, how these are going to work is a whole other story. Had to sneeze. So, how this is all going to work is a little bit strange because we don't know yet. Typically, AMD have been, well, absolute shite when it comes to GPUs for, well, forever. They're always lackluster. They come out with a new series and their new top end card is the equivalent of Nvidia's 2 year old, like, fifth place last gen card. So it's a little weird typically. Now, Big Navi, not specifically Big Navi, but RDNA 2, the new 6000 RX series, they do show a lot more promise. So we don't know how it's going to go, but there's a lot of leaked benchmarks, there's a lot of leaked this, that, and the other, and speculation and all too. Not to mention, this is the same kind of stuff that the new consoles are based on. And they're already coming up and disappointing. I mean, dynamic 4K, 4K 30 FPS with ray tracing, get them out of here. 1080p 60 FPS with ray tracing. I mean, it's not very next gen. Now, the big thing is what everyone is wondering what they're going to offer in comparison to Nvidia. Now, if we do see 3 different cards today, let's just say 6800, 6800 XT, and 6900, I think they're going to fall into the following categories. The base one, this is probably the 6800, will be in around, I would guess a little bit under the 3070, which releases tomorrow. The 6800 XT would likely be just somewhere between the 3070 and the 3080, possibly maybe a little bit closer to the 3080. And then if we have a big Navi, if you will, well, we do have a big Navi, but if it is a separate card, I think it's going to fit somewhere in around the kind of trade blows with the 3080. I think, some games it will outperform the 3080 slightly. Some games it will will underperform the 3080 slightly. But we don't know just yet. We have to wait to see what these benchmarks are and what they're going to show and tell us. Of course, do always wait for third-party independent benchmarks, not what AMD or Nvidia will provide you. That's the important one. I do have a couple of the Nvidia benchmark. I have a couple of 3080 benchmarks on one of my monitors here, so I can make active comparisons as we're shown. And these ones are done by PC Gamer, so they're third-party independent ones, not Nvidia provided. That's pretty much it. The only other bit I wanted to, only other 2 things is, as always, based on our metrics and all here, what we are doing, we have our shades. Naturally, you can go with whatever rating it is you want. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, thumbs slightly leaning up or down, whatever it is. You can give something 5 stars, you can give it 7 out of 5 stars, you can give it a score out of 10, you can give it a score out of 100. For us, what we do, it's cut and dry. 50-50, good or bad. What we do is, if what we're shown here from AMD is the future of gaming and GPU technology to the point where it makes me happy to look forward, well, then the future is so bright, we gotta wear shades. But the only other thing before this starts now in less than 60 seconds, I will mention is since I am currently in the market for a new GPU, be it a 3080 or a 3090, we have to see how it all plays out. Well, it's going to take a lot for me to be persuaded to move away from NVIDIA to AMD. I use many of the NVIDIA specific features and I enjoy lots of the NVIDIA specific features. So if it's just going to trade performance blow for blow practically with a 3080, and even if it is slightly cheaper, it's not going to do it for me. It's not going to be enough for me to swap over because I would be losing so much more. I would need significant performance gains for equal or less price to convince me to move away from the NVIDIA specific features that I use a lot. But we'll find out today, any moment now, because the premiere will begin shortly. And then we're going full screen, of course. We're going full screen. I'll be sitting down here in the corner, but that's about it. There are currently 129,701 people watching. See, this is why it's interesting, because this can also, depending on what they can put out, this can also influence a little bit of NVIDIA and what they do. Availability, stock-wise, price, potential upcoming models and stuff like that too. So that is something that is very important too. I mean, I believe it was one of the previous ones. Oh, we got our little... What is blinding? I actually really like this music. Hang on, who is getting at me here? But yeah, there's one of the AMD launches fairly recently was basically supposedly done to debate NVIDIA to drop the price, and NVIDIA instantly dropped the price. So depending on what happens, I mean, if we see performance going blow for blow with a 3080, and then it's €100 cheaper, NVIDIA could drop the price by a little bit. Which is also, it's also kind of interesting because if you want to play conspiracy theory, something that I've believed this entire time is because we have the release, or this showcase date and announcement for today, it's almost like NVIDIA released their cards, if you will, in advance, but made them, let's say, held back with replenishing supplies, because I've seen a lot of websites that have updated their new upcoming deliveries from NVIDIA manufacturers and stuff, and they're all right at the very end of October. So maybe it's something to do with whatever they're going to announce today. Maybe they've specifically been holding it back until something is announced today, and then maybe something is updated. But anyway, that's it. Let's see what the future of AMD and their Radeon GPUs has to offer for us, potentially. Come on, Lisa Sue, don't let me down. I'm like blending in here, it's great. This presentation contains forward-looking statements concerning advanced micro devices, including but not limited to the features, blah, 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 blah. Well, this looks like they're... Well, this is clearly their big Navi. Why are my headphones going weird? Okay. Of course, it makes sense they're going to show some of this stuff. After all, the new consoles do have GPUs based on all of this. But we need more than all these cinematic CG trailers and all this stuff. We need actual performance metrics. That's what we want. There's some other big questions out there too at the moment as well. How is the AMD hardware, the actual ray tracing hardware, going to support ray tracing? How is it going to equal? And how will it function in RTX enabled and sponsored games? Let's go. I'm getting one of those. Here we go. And it flopped. I wouldn't go that far, but their awards are bullshit if you ever listen to them or read them. Oh, she big smile when she said that. Big words. Because if these flop, and if these are lackluster, but GCN was garbage, even at the time. Let's go. Oh, she holds up the actual chip. Come on, show us the GPU. Okay, I mean, I know we're gonna get some hardware talk, but we want something more. GCN was garbage. Also, I just noticed shipping Q4 RDNA 2 2020. Oh shit, Kai, I can't believe I've been here talking for like 10 minutes with the sound off.
PC and beyond. We had some very ambitious goals with RDNA 2.
Yikes.
Significantly higher performance, 50% improvement in performance per watt.
Oh, that is epic.
Features.
Epic fail right there.
Each of these goals is challenging. When combined, they become extremely difficult because as you push performance, a natural side effect is more power. New features also mean more computation, further challenging both speed and power metrics. For RDNA 2, we made significant gains in all these areas.
So far, basically, they haven't said anything important.
Of the architecture.
They've just talked about their GCN and how it's going to improve with RDNA and RDNA 2 and stuff coming out later this year.
We deployed pervasive fine-grained clock gating. Reimagined the pipeline to aggressively maximize performance while minimizing data movement. In combination, these elements made the compute units 30% more energy efficient, allowing them to be pushed faster.
I mean,
Gaming at 4K requires more data
see, this is the kind of thing we want.
Into the chip. The amount of
I know they're
data
going to
more than
give us
doubled
actual
as we
specs
move
and all
from
like this, but
1440p
what we
to
really want is the
4K.
benchmarks.
The more efficient the memory subsystem is, the higher fidelity the images are, and the more you can push the frame rates. We took a new approach to solving this technical challenge for gaming and deployed a graphics-optimized, high-density, high-speed cache based on the Zen L3 cache. We call this the Infinity Cache. The Infinity Cache minimizes DRAM bottlenecks, latencies, and power consumption. Our specialized Infinity Cache, combined with a 256-bit G6 interface,
this is kind of
more than twice the effective bandwidth of a traditional 384-bit G6 solution.
Interesting that she says it's only GDDR6.
High frequency is important for gaming performance. RDNA 2
Although I
is
think
built with custom libraries
GDDR6X, I think, is NVIDIA stuff, tech.
With RDNA 2, our silicon design and architectural improvements, we are able to deliver 30% faster frequencies in the same 7-nanometer process node. Pulling all this together,
so I mean, you can say 30%, you can say 2.1, 2.9, all this stuff. Benchmarks.
Achieving 54%. With RDNA 2, we also focused on bringing new hardware features into the architecture. We partner closely with Microsoft on DirectX 12 Ultimate features, including DirectX ray tracing, variable rate shading, mesh shaders, and sampler feedback. RDNA 2
VRS, variable rate shading, is actually shite.
We're excited about this new API
because all the games that use it currently look worse than using regular shading.
Reducing game asset load times from large SSDs. We compared the performance.
Direct storage API is interesting though.
And when we put it all together, on average, RDNA 2 delivers double
This is
the
up to
performance
this is 4K,
with
so
great power efficiency.
it's hard to
We
see
are so
numbers
proud
with all that.
of
It was
what
very
we've
quick.
accomplished with RDNA 2,
They did
and
say
we are
4K.
not
I'm gonna
stopping. The team
check
is
my quick.
executing to plan. RDNA 2 is here, and
I don't
the
have Doom
RDNA
ones
3
on
team
hand.
is well into execution. Let me welcome Scott Herkelman to show RDNA 2 in our new RX 6000 series products.
Okay, hopefully they show us more of the actual stuff now. When they get into real benchmarks, I have 1440p and 4K benchmarks up on one of my monitors here, so I can give you, with the RTX 3080, so I can give you better comparisons
and welcome to our Radeon RX
when it finally
6000
happens.
series product reveal. As a hardcore League of Legends and Borderlands 3 player and playing these games on our RX 6000 series over the past few weeks, I'm so excited.
Imagine using League of Legends to
allow me to introduce you to our brand new AMD
to show everything.
Radeon RX 6800 XT graphics card. The 6800 XT is purposefully designed to play all of your favorite AAA games.
This is what I expected.
And below resolution.
Remember I said 16 gig,
highest
3800
quality
XT.
settings available. It comes with 72 compute units and runs with a game clock of over 2 gigahertz. This card features a 2.25 gigahertz boost clock that pushes some of the highest frequencies we've ever achieved. All thanks to the incredible work done by our engineering team on the RDNA 2 architecture.
He's got the Konami code on his
The 6800 XT
t-shirt.
will also feature 128 megabytes of Infinity Cache that is power efficient while driving the bandwidth needed for high-resolution gaming. Paired with 16 gigabytes of blazing fast GDDR6 memory, you'll be ready for the most
blazing
demanding
fast, the second
high-resolution
fastest
games
memory
that
they use
and we've
in
delivered
graphics
all of
cards.
this incredible performance with a total board power of just 300 watts. As you can see, the 6800 XT not only delivers on 4K 60
Here we
frames
go.
per second, but in
You know what? I'm going to pause it just because we want to look at some of this. So I have Shadow of the Tomb Raider up in front of me right now. I see this is Shadow of the Tomb Raider is averaging on 88 FPS on 4K. So that is actually higher than what is listed here with ray tracing and all turned on for the 3800 or the 3080. So that is higher on there. They have Wolfenstein Youngblood averaging 142 FPS. We are looking at 124 FPS on the NVIDIA RTX 3080 FE. They also have... It doesn't actually list any of those other games. Metro Exodus isn't there. No. No, it's not listed any of those ones. We'll continue
Most
on
cases,
anyway.
it overperforms.
The settings for
We've
NVIDIA
been
are everything
maxing out
maxed,
all the settings in games like Battlefield 5,
including ray tracing.
Borderlands 3, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and the performance has just been awesome to experience. Let's take a look at how the 6800 XT competes head-to-head against the latest offering from the competition.
Oh, here we go.
We compare
This is what
their
we
best
want.
API scores to our best API scores. The best versus the best.
Here we go. Let's look at this. Let's look at this closer. So they are very, very close. So now remember, this is what I said at the very start. You have to be careful with benchmarks. I'm running the NVIDIA benchmarks I'm using right now are third-party independent ones done by PC Gamer. These were not the NVIDIA supplied ones. The ones we're seeing here now on the screen right here are AMD provided ones. Take these with a grain of salt and always wait for actual third-party tests and benchmarks to verify these numbers. But on average, let's see what we're looking at. Battlefield, very similar. AMD coming out a little bit ahead. Borderlands, same deal as well. And now, with Borderlands, you're looking at 63 FPS versus what is probably 60. But if you look at... I don't have it in front of me, but I remember seeing the 3080 playing Borderlands 3 at 4K maxed out above 60 FPS. So that's where you have to be careful with some of this stuff. Call of Duty, The Division, I mean, that's behind it. Doom Eternal, AMD is behind in Doom Eternal again. Forza Horizon, it's slightly ahead. Gears of War, so you see the issue here. You have to be very careful, but the numbers are good. The overall base numbers are good, because typically you look at something and it'll say, let's say Resident Evil 3, 117 FPS. Now, these are AMD provided, but that is usually an indication of roughly around what you're going to get. If they're saying 117, in the real world you might get 110. You're not going to get 60. So that is promising.
And as you can see, the 6800 XT trades blows and has some significant wins across a variety of titles.
I wouldn't go with significant
and it does
wins.
all of this at less power consumption than the competition. For the 1440p gamers out there, we have some great results for you too.
Here we go. I have these too.
Over the last several years, more and more gamers have adopted 1440p monitors as their display of choice.
This is
Here
what
are
I'm
the
running.
same games we showed you before, running the same best versus best API scenario.
Okay, 1440p. This is the one that interests me the most here. So Battlefield, we're looking that's significant. We're looking up there as well. Borderlands, again, only a small difference in there. Call of Duty, it's getting to be a little bit of a bigger difference. The Division is behind, but it's still, you're looking at 135 versus what's probably about 150. Doom Eternal, you're looking at over 200 FPS regardless. Forza Horizon, you're looking at what, 180 to 200. Gears of War, again, you're looking very, very high. Resident Evil 3, you're again looking very, very high. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, I'm going to compare these real quick to the ones I have beside me. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, 1440p, the highest stuff. So, the average FPS of... this is roughly in line with what PC Gamer have found with their ones. So, 3080 and the Division 2. It's actually in... See, this way you have to be careful. These are NVIDIA-provided benchmarks on the AMD presentation here. And they're saying the Division 2 is coming in at about 140, 145, 150. PC Gamer's independent test have shown an RTX 3080 Founders Edition is delivering an average of 125 FPS. Now, it's still very, very similar is the key here, but numbers, the devils are in the details. Wolfenstein Youngblood is there as well. Again, we have another issue here too. So 1440p. Wolfenstein Youngblood, according to AMD, they're offering 253 FPS, and NVIDIA is offering less. According to the independent PC Gamer third-party test, the NVIDIA RTX 3080 Founders Edition is delivering an average of 278 FPS. And that's 278 FPS on Lab X, which is the most demanding level in the game. So you do have to be careful with all of this. Now, overall, it's promising. It's very good and very promising overall. That's the important thing.
I personally love seeing so many games running at over 100 frames per second with all of the settings maxed out. This is just an incredible amount of performance.
Now, I don't have 1080p
all,
benchmarks because it's worthless.
XT is a fantastic choice.
Now, this is also the 6800
we even
XT.
have more performance we are delivering
There
with two
could
very cool
be
features.
a 6900.
The first is a one-click overclocking button we've built into our Radeon software package that we call Rage Mode. Now, Rage Mode automatically takes advantage of the overclocking headroom built into your GPU to give you every bit of performance it has to
This
offer.
is promising.
And
I like the sound of this.
Is made possible because of the fact that only AMD can deliver both high-performance processors and high-performance GPUs. We call this new feature AMD Smart Access Memory. AMD Smart Access Memory unlocks the greater
Just so everyone knows,
high-speed memory from the AMD Radeon RX 6000 series graphics cards to the AMD Ryzen 5000 series processors, and it delivers additional levels of performance.
Here we go, baby.
Simply pair these components with our 500 series chipset motherboards.
The future's so bright.
Setting in the BIOS, and
I gotta wear shades.
Uplift becomes automatic when you combine AMD Smart Access Memory.
I wanna pause here real quick and just mention something. So he's talking about using their new Ryzen 5000 series chips. I'm getting a 5900X, a Ryzen 5900X in a couple of weeks, or at least I'm gonna try it when they become available on the 5th. I will be getting one of the X500 series motherboards. Also, I will be getting an X570, I think it is, motherboard. And potentially getting one of these GPUs, so I will have access to stuff like this. But let's see the kind of boost.
Overclocking of Rage Mode, you'll get a boost in performance in many of the games you love. We're seeing up to a 13% performance increase. And that's before game developers begin to optimize for this new capability. Now, we know a lot of you absolutely love frames per second performance just like us.
Yeah, that's what we want.
However, we can also improve the game experience by reducing latency.
Okay, so they have their own version of what NVIDIA are doing with Reflex.
Game can be the difference between a major win and a major loss.
I'm expecting all of
Last
them to
year,
have
we
their
pushed the
own
industry to recognize
types of
there was
this.
a better way to provide competitive gamers with less latency from mouse click to the screen.
Better
Giving
I/O,
competitive gamers
better
who own the
latency
RX
for
5000
mice and
series
whatnot.
A serious leg up on their competition. Today, we are pushing the boundaries again and further reducing latency in competitive games for even better results. Combining the latest implementation of Radeon anti-lag with the FreeSync monitor,
It also
reduce lag in your DX9 and in your DX11.
Ooh, it includes. Oh,
In
it's
Fortnite, for
FreeSync though.
Gamers can realize
Yikes.
up to 8 milliseconds of latency reduction by simply enabling this feature in Radeon software. More recently, we introduced Radeon Boost, a unique feature that's a step beyond anti-lag. For select games, Radeon Boost offers dynamic resolution in response to your mouse or controller inputs, leading to higher frame rates and, as a result, quicker response.
I don't like the sound of that.
Both Radeon anti-lag
Because
and Radeon Boost can be enabled via the
that's
Radeon software
dropping
that comes with
everything.
their graphics cards, and neither of them require a proprietary API or a game integration to provide latency-reducing benefits. As you can see, the combination of these technologies can contribute up to 37% latency reduction in highly competitive games like Fortnite running at 4K. Now, performance is king, but let's talk for a minute about how we are improving the visual experience as well.
Okay, good,
With
good.
full hardware support for DX12,
This is important.
the
I want to
Radeon
make sure that
RX
they
6000
support the
series is ready to
DX12
enable
Ultimate
ray
stuff.
tracing and variable rate shading in upcoming titles. We've also expanded our library of Fidelity FX features to work hand in hand with ray tracing, compute, and shader effects to enable the higher level of visual fidelity while ensuring high frame rates. For DX12 Ultimate, we've added an optimized denoiser for ray tracing effects and a variable rate shading algorithm that can adapt image quality based upon luminance and motion. We've also added a suite of compute-based effects to be used alongside ray tracing, like optimized screen space reflections and an optimized ambient occlusion. We're always looking to help developers with new initiatives and are already working on a super resolution feature to give gamers an option for more
That super
performance
resolution
for these
feature that's been
images.
around on NVIDIA for about
As
6
of
years.
Today, our AMD Fidelity FX supported games list has grown to 35 titles using a variety of our features. So, let's take a look at some of these new features in an upcoming game with never before seen footage from Counterplay Studios and their fantastic game, Godfall.
I was
Godfall
expecting
is
it to be
a brand new
Godfall.
third-person perspective, next-generation looter slasher that challenges gamers to engage in high-impact melee combat as they hunt for loot, equip legendary armor, and defeat vicious enemies. Leveraging the latest DirectX 12 Ultimate API, Godfall features DirectX ray tracing, variable rate shading, and supports Fidelity FX CAS to deliver incredible levels of stunning fidelity. I personally can't wait to play this game, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, let's hear from a few more of our game developer partners about the work they've done with us on RDNA 2 and what you can expect in their games coming soon.
If you go back and look at the stuff that currently supports variable rate shading, it actually makes the shadows look worse.
Technologies we've been collaborating
Unfortunately,
with AMD to make our game the most immersive and beautiful Far Cry ever.
It kind of makes sense considering that it's lower quality shading where
Radeon
not
RX
needed.
6000 series and RDNA 2 architecture for best possible experience. We've been very impressed by AMD's latest tech and joined forces to bring Fidelity FX CAS, DXR ray tracing, and variable rate shading to Far Cry 6.
Oh, I thought they were going to give us examples.
To use a compute shader to generate a control texture, which analyzes the luminance and gives us control at an 8x8 tile level as to what shader rate we're going to be using. This enables us to render much more quickly.
Lower quality shadows.
Level.
We're excited to team up with great partners like AMD to bring some new features to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is built on a custom engine using the DirectX 12 Ultimate API.
A custom terrible engine.
6000 is DXR ray tracing. Here you can see ray tracing evident in how the shadows are interacting with your character. What you're seeing involves incredibly complex computations on the RX 6000. This is a level of realism that hasn't been possible until recently.
That was actually even though it was just a small little segment, that was actually a good
the
demonstration
RDNA2
for
architecture and
for
the
even if
Radeon
the
6000 series allowed us to introduce some of the latest
game was
DirectX
hideous.
12 Ultimate technologies into our engine. Real-time ray-traced shadows allow us to introduce additional shadow casting lights into the scene that provide much more immersion and detail into the world.
Over the next few weeks, developers of these incredible games will show never-before-seen gameplay with gorgeous graphics that use a combination of ray tracing and fidelity effects running on the Radeon RX 6000 series graphics cards. Be sure to check out AMD.com starting tomorrow to see more.
They're giving they're just videos
the
and stuff.
Radeon RX 6800 XT will be available on November 18th, starting at $649.
Okay, so it's undercutting
But we are not done yet.
the NVIDIA
Today,
solution
we are also announcing the Radeon RX 6800
for about
with 60
€50.
compute units, a 1.815 gigahertz game clock with a boost clock of over 2.1 gigahertz. It
So
will
this is
feature
the cut down
same
model.
128
It
megabytes
still
of
has
Infinity cache
16
and be
gigs. It's just a
available
slightly
with
slower
16
card.
gigabytes of GDDR6 memory with a board power of just 250 watts. The Radeon RX 6800 is a fantastic entry into 4K gaming, delivering more performance than the 2080 Ti, which was launched at $999.
I just want to point out he's specifically using the RTX 2080 Ti, last series 2-year-old graphic card. Just remember that. Not the 3080, because then it would show that it's worse in every way. But this is making it look like it's a better option. No one is comparing. No one is thinking, oh, should I buy a 2080 Ti or a 6800? No. People are wondering, should I buy a 3070, a 3080, or a 6800?
The 6800 delivers over
Just
60
remember that.
frames per second.
Be careful
in
with all
of
this
these
stuff.
Games, giving you the confidence you need to step into the 4K gaming experience. That same great performance extends to 1440p resolution, where the RX 6800 tears through the latest games.
Again, comparing it to a
delivering
2080
about
Ti.
18% more performance than the 2080 Ti on average. The Radeon RX 6800 will be available to gamers starting at a price of $579 on November 18th.
Honestly, you're better off paying
Let's bring back Lisa.
the extra little bit of money to just get the 68 XT. Now, is she going to come back and say, yeah, we also have a 6900 XT, which would be their big
Thanks, Scott
dog
and Laura.
if they did.
The AMD Radeon 6800 XT and 6800 deliver simply incredible 4K and 1440p gaming experiences. This is the power of RDNA 2. And once we add the smart access memory technology, gamers can even get higher frames per second when pairing Radeon 6000 GPUs with Ryzen 5000 series. Now, I saw online that some of you were wondering which big Navi product we previewed during our Ryzen 5000
It's going to be the
launch earlier this
6900.
month. For the record, that was the 6800 XT.
Oh, boo.
But you know, we always save the best for last, and I always get the most fun jobs.
Here we go, lads.
So today, that means I have one more GPU to show.
Here we go.
We didn't stop with the Radeon
6900.
6800 XT. We knew that the RDNA 2 architecture could give gamers even more.
This
I'm
could
so
be it.
excited to share with you for the very first time the AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT.
There we go.
Isn't this just absolutely gorgeous? And you'll see that it's actually relatively compact for all the performance that it delivers.
Yeah, but no one cares about
It's
that.
the same size
E-
as our 6800.
Even
XT
if the
card.
3090 is a
Our
monster.
top-of-the-stack Radeon GPU is built for the ultimate in 4K gaming performance.
More compute
6900
units,
XT
bigger
combines
clocks,
80 compute units with a 2.25
same amount of
gigahertz
memory.
boost clock to deliver even more performance at the highest settings.
Give me
With
benchmarks,
16
Lisa.
gigabytes of graphics memory,
Give me the
6900
benchmarks.
XT is ready for the most demanding next-gen games. And with the power efficiency of RDNA 2, we've been able to deliver all of this with a total board power of 300 watts. Now, Laura showed you that we achieved a 54% generational improvement in perf per watt with the 6800
So this one is
XT.
about 15%
With the 6900
performance per watt
XT,
above
we improved things even more, hitting
the 68.
65% more performance per watt over first-gen RDNA. I'm so proud of our engineers who worked incredibly hard to optimize every aspect of RDNA 2 to achieve this performance. Now let's see how all of this translates to gaming performance.
Yes, this is what we want.
Running at 4K with the highest settings, the 6900 XT looks absolutely fantastic.
Bring it up. Bring it up
It's
close.
extremely competitive.
Here we go. This is what we want. Now, this is compared to the RTX 3090. This is not compared to an RTX 3080. This is compared to a 3090. We've got everything completely maxed out with rage mode and smart access memory enabled. So you're looking at Battlefield 5, 122 FPS. Borderlands 3, 73. Remember, 4K maxed out. 102 in Battlefield. 81 in The Division. Doom Eternal, 150. 169 in Forza Horizon. I mean, this is strong. This is a good card. Before we go any further, though, this card has to be $1,000 or less,
Across the board,
or else, because
consistently delivering high frame
if they do bring this card in at at $999, that's a big blow to the 3090,
rates in your favorite game.
because you're trading performance
Just take a
for
look at the performance
500
we
left,
see against the
500
competition
less.
in Battlefield 5, Call of Duty, and Gears of War 5. All of this is at lower power with a smaller card form factor. Now, let's talk about price and availability.
Here we go.
AMD Radeon RX 6900
Called it.
XT
$999.
available on December 8th, starting at $999. You asked for AMD to bring the highest graphics performance to the gaming market, and we're doing just that.
They finally did
I hope
it.
you now feel that with the Ryzen 5000
They finally-
series
they
and the
finally hit it
Radeon
up.
6000 series, AMD is your best choice for your next generation PC gaming platform. Whether you want a game with ultimate performance in AAA titles at 4K resolution, or you're an esports fan who needs incredibly high frame rates and responsiveness, across the board for every gamer at every price, AMD has the CPU and GPU combination for you. So I hope you're as excited as we are. We can't wait to get these products in your hands. So look for the Ryzen 5000 series starting November 5th, the Radeon RX 6800 series starting November 18th, and the Radeon RX 6900 XT starting December 8th. To wrap up here, this has been quite a journey for us, and I'm incredibly proud of our CPU and GPU teams who have worked years for this moment. AMD is delivering the best to the industry. We want to thank all of you for your passion and enthusiasm and for always pushing us to be the best.
Okay. 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 I'm just gonna wait for this to end, for the big dun 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 music. Is it finally over? Okay. It looks like we over. Well, let me change it up while we do this. There we go. So, what is the dealio? what is the dealio with our new line of AMD RDNA base 2 Navi 60 RX 68 or RX 6000 GPU series? Okay, we just finished our presentation, so we can talk a little bit about it. Now, me personally, I am very happy about this. I haven't decided based on what we've seen just yet. I still need official third-party supplied benchmarks, because you can't 100% trust everything these companies are going to give you. So that's why you wait for third-party benchmarks. But the numbers, the actual rough estimates of the benchmarks that they did provide were good, were very good. Let's start at the bottom. RX 6800. It's a decent card. I wasn't happy that they compared it to the 2080 Ti, because they know if they compared it to a 3070 or a 3080, they would look much, much worse. So that's a little bit unfair. I'm not saying it's unfair on Nvidia. I just think it's unfair on consumers that they're purposely misleading them a little bit. The 6800 XT, on the other hand, that was compared directly to an RTX 3080, and that had good numbers. It was going roughly close enough to pound for pound, especially considering that you could see the performance you were getting for it, the fact that it launched at $50 cheaper, and who knows, maybe it'll actually be available for the foreseeable future. I mean, it's out in, what is it, about a month? No, it's not even about a month. It's out on the 12th, so it's like 2 or 3 weeks from now. But that's a very real possibility, because now AMD have a card that goes hand in hand, basically, that goes equal, roughly equal. Some cases better, some cases worse. Why can I not speak to that? Than the RTX 3080, which is very important. Now, at the start of this presentation, I mentioned that even if it had a cheaper price and roughly the same performance, I wouldn't consider switching over, simply because I'd be losing too many NVIDIA-specific features. I would need a significant performance increase to trade off some of those features. Now, with the 6900 XT, I'm going to be real. The 6900 XT is very, very tempting. The 6900 XT is very tempting. It obviously beats out the 3080. Now, it is more expensive than the 3080, but it does beat out the 3080. But it's close enough to comparable to the 3090 for 500, 600, depending on the model, you go for 700, 900 euro less. That's tempting. I could live without GameWorks. I could live without Fogworks, Paperworks, Smokeworks, Hairworks, whatever it is. I could live without that for that price and performance. Now, that's important. Not to mention there's the whole rage mode and boost clock thing and all that. If you do pair it with a Zen 3 CPU, I am getting a 5900X in a couple of weeks, if I can secure one at least anyway. So that's even more performance. Granted, that was the numbers they showed, but I can get those numbers in theory. We'll see how it goes. So this is very exciting. This is a very, very, very exciting time for me. I'm not going to pull the trigger and make a decision just yet. Obviously, that would be terrible. But I am very excited for multiple reasons. One, AMD now have proper equal GPUs. They are actually, for the first time in about 12 to 14 years, they're actually competitive at the top level of GPUs. Something they've never been in 12 plus years, I'd say. The last time I remember that being kind of equal, you were looking at, I just maybe like 2006, 2008 kind of thing. So that's big. They're back. This has to force NVIDIA, even though they just launched new cards. Maybe they have a TI version that's going to be significantly upgraded or whatever, that can offer better performance and a good price. Maybe they'll drop prices on their existing things. Maybe they'll have to change availability and all as well. Now maybe we'll see a price drop in a 3080. So we'll say, oh, a 3080? You know, we'll drop it by 50 euros. So it's the same price as a 6800 XT. And of course, we're not going to see a massive price drop, not to such a degree to compete with the 6900 from 3090. But the point is, now NVIDIA have to be a little bit worried. Drivers and specific issues and all aside, and specific features and all aside, the numbers are good. And as I promised at the start, and have done multiple times in the video, here we don't run a 2 out of 10, 9 out of 10 score. We don't give stuff 5 out of 5. We don't give a 5-star rating, and we don't even give a 7 out of 5-star rating. We don't give a thumbs up, a thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, whatever it is. No, we base the score and the future and just everything about it, if it was impressive, on if the future is so bright, I gotta wear shades. And yes, it absolutely 100% is. I am so happy about this. Even if I end up not getting an RX 6000 series card, the fact is it's going to push everything, innovation and innovative and creativity forward from both camps. AMD are back pound for pound at the top. Nvidia now have to not just do a little bit to pull ahead. They have to, in their next series, 2 years from now, whenever it comes out, or a mid-series refresh, they now have to do a significant jump to make it worthwhile, to make you stay on there. I know for me, like I said, I would need more than just a small performance increase or a better price per performance. I would need much better than that to consider jumping away. I'm not like, not everyone is like that. Not everyone is like me in that regard. Many people just see raw performance and price, or performance and price, or hell, there's even one girl I know who works on nothing but the power consumption of the GPU. She's crazy. I don't know. Asian people, man, I tell you, they're crazy. But on top of all that, not everyone's like me. I see many people jumping to 3080 levels of performance with the 6800, with the RX 6800 XT for a cheaper price than you can get an RX. Jesus, everything is confused with an RTX 3080. I can see people easily going for that level of performance for a cheaper price. Absolutely. The same with the likes of the 6900 XT. I can easily see people going for what would have been let's call it a $700, maybe $800 3080 that they can't even get at the moment. I could see people spending an extra $200 to get significantly better performance. So that's important. Instead of paying double with the likes of instead of paying double what you'd be getting a 3090 for, again, all of these numbers and acronyms, it's a mess. I could easily see them paying $200 instead of double price to get that performance, and it will be worth it. I was originally going to get a 3090, and I consider the 3090, after we've seen the benchmarks, a waste of money. But if you were to give me 3090 performance for $1,000, that's absolutely worth it, definitely. And potentially the RX 6900 can offer that, and a lot of people would be happy and would easily jump over for that. We have to see, because as I said, the ballpark figures, the benchmarks that AMD provided, they give you an average. They give you an average idea. I'm sure these benchmarks were run 1,000 times, and they picked that one number that was 2 FPS higher than every other time. You have to remember all of that. These are very, 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 very specific, precise, and controlled. So wait for this stuff to get third-party independent benchmarks. I know I'll be waiting on all of that before you get a proper one. But I do think, because of the AMD provided numbers, they do give you an average. Sure, AMD say you might get 120 FPS. Third-party independent benchmark might say you'd average 118 FPS, 115 FPS. It gives you an average idea. If AMD say you're getting 120, you're not going to get 60. So you still get the general idea. Overall, that's it for the AMD presentation. I am going to go do a couple of things and then probably eat and swap over and continue on with Gears of War 2. But that comes in, I don't know, maybe in the next couple of hours. That's something else to worry about. In the meantime, I have to go shitpost about all these AMD GPUs and whatnot as we do, because, well, I mean, that's what we do here, the glorious PC Gaming Master Race, am I right? It's going to be interesting to see what everyone else has to say about it, both on a personal level with people I know and people I talk with, as well as actual media outlets and all too. And then I'm going to go laugh at all the console fanboys, because that's what I do. Anyway, that's it, everyone. Thanks for joining me for the AMD conference. I'll see you in a few weeks when I do manage to pick up my AMD Ryzen 9 5900X, and I will be gloating about it and showing it off. Not in a PC just yet, because I won't have a new one built at the time, but you get the idea. Until then, the future looking so bright for GPU technology with AMD back that I gotta wear shades. Peace.